Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
No,
Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
It's 9 p.m. I'm Ben Leo. Tonight, some breaking news. More than 1,000 small boat migrants have crossed the Channel in the past 48 hours, making the most of the hot weather. That's as the PM admits crisis in the Channel is deteriorating. You think? Also tonight. Unbelievable. I'm not flogging kebabs tonight. That was a London takeaway which is advertising its services online using clips of Iranian missile strikes on Israeli citizens. Meanwhile... Two people are badly injured while protesting the Iranian regime outside its embassy in London. 7 are arrested for GBH. And if you thought London wasn't bad enough, I can exclusively reveal on Ben Leo tonight that a former Iranian vice president who once backed the fatwa on Salman Rushdie is living in a plush £1 million house in the capital. Of course he is. Oh, and by the way, a Hamas commander on the West Bank is also living in a council house here that he bought under right to buy. All this, of course, as Palestine protesters scoot into RAF Brize Norton and wreck military aircraft and the runway. And meanwhile, a British man tonight is accused of being an Iranian spy in Cyprus. He's been arrested, accused of plotting a terrorist attack against our troops there. Just what the bloody hell is going on in England, and when are we going to sort this out? Also tonight.
Well, they should give me the Nobel Prize for Rwanda and, if you look, the Congo, or you could say Serbia, Kosovo. They won't give me a Nobel Peace Prize because they only give it to liberals.
There he is. There's the man of the moment. Does President Trump deserve a Nobel Peace Prize? Well, Pakistan has just nominated him for one. And...
Oh, no! Open the door! Do not!
Dear oh dear. They're good at nicking people for Facebook posts, aren't they? But the police find it hard, apparently, to do the basics. On my panel tonight is journalist and communications advisor Linda Jubilee, the former Met Police detective Peter Blexley, and the former Labour Special Advisor Paul Richards. And what do you reckon happened when a man ordered the hottest curry in Britain?
Oh my God, Carry on. The first spoon had just gone in.
Good evening, thank you for your company. Big show coming up, including the first of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, hot off the press. First, though, let's get your news headlines with Sam Francis.
Very good evening to you from the newsroom. The top story tonight, more than 1,000 migrants have now crossed the English Channel illegally so far this weekend. 437 arrived on Friday, with close to 600 others making the journey today. Border Force and lifeboats have responded to at least 9 small boats in UK waters. Earlier this morning, one group was forced to disembark off the French coast as officers slashed their vessel to prevent yet another launch. The surge in arrivals comes as the Prime Minister is now admitting the crisis in the Channel is, he says, deteriorating. At least 8 people have died in Brazil after a hot air balloon crashed in the south of the country. There were 21 people known to be on board when the balloon came down. Police say a fire broke out in the basket mid-air, with survivors jumping moments before the balloon lost lift and fell. 13 people, including the pilot, survived and were taken to hospital. The Israel-Iran conflict has entered its 9th day now, with strikes intensifying on both sides. Israel says it's hit dozens of military targets in southwest Iran, including a university, an emergency centre and a nuclear facility. In response, Iranian drones entered Israeli airspace earlier today as the region now teeters on the edge of further escalation. Iran has warned US involvement would be very dangerous as casualties continue to rise, over 400 known to be dead in Iran and 25 in Israel. Meanwhile, a British man has been arrested in Cyprus accused of spying for Iran and plotting a terror attack near a key RAF base. Local media there say the suspect, linked to Iran's Revolutionary Guard, was caught with a long-lens camera and 3 phones, watching the UK's key military airbase. He was tracked to a flat near Limassol and arrested. Israel says the plot targeted Israeli citizens. The UK Foreign Office says it's in contact with authorities over what some are calling a spy in plain sight. The Home Secretary is set to brand Palestine Action a terrorist group, calling their methods criminal and extreme. It comes after activists broke into RAF Bryce Norton and sprayed red paint into the engine of a military jet. Counter-terror police are now on the case. The group has been behind a wave of stunts in recent months, targeting London offices and even defacing Donald Trump's golf course in Scotland. They say they're exposing what they call blood-soaked ties between Britain and Israel's arms trade. Brought back to the surface 10 months after sinking off the coast of Sicily, Mike Lynch's super yacht has now been salvaged today after the accident last August that killed the British tech tycoon, his teenage daughter and 5 others. A report found the vessel likely capsized in a powerful storm. Crews used one of Europe's biggest maritime cranes to lift the 56-metre yacht from the seabed, revealing extensive damage to the hull. And the UK is sweltering in a heat wave, hitting a new high today, recording 33.2 in Surrey, making it the hottest day of the year so far. But as the heat peaks, a yellow storm warning is now in force across northern England, North Wales and the Scottish borders, with flash floods, hail and even lightning possible. All this as thousands gathered this morning to watch the sunrise at Stonehenge, marking the longest and now the hottest day of the year. That's the news on GB News. Plenty more still to come right here. Don't go anywhere.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello, good evening to you. Welcome to Ben Leo tonight. Now, look, I don't know what the bloody hell is going on in Britain right now, but we need to pull our socks up. It appears we're accommodating many people who, quite frankly, hate us and hate our allies. Not least, Iran supporters who are brazenly operating all across this country. Let's kick off with this one, shall we? Here's a Ben Leo Tonight exclusive for you. I can reveal that a former senior member of the Iranian government that issued the fatwa on Salman Rushdie is now living a cushy life in a £1 million North London home. The Iranian man, who I'm not going to name tonight for various reasons, backs the Islamic death sentence on Rushdie after the publication of his book, The Satanic Verses. The Met Police has been studying a legal dossier accusing him of encouraging terrorism under the 2006 Terror Act. Since living in London, the former government minister has frequently praised the late General Qasem Soleimani of the Islamic Revolutionary Guards as a national hero of Iran and Islam. The Americans classed the IRG as a terrorist group, and President Trump killed Soleimani in a drone strike in 2020. Separately to that, if that wasn't bad enough, I can tell you that Hamas's former commander in the West Bank is also living a life of comfort in London after buying his council house under right to buy. Of course he did. According to US intel, the man ran their terrorist operations in the West Bank and these days helps organise pro-Palestine protests in London. Aren't we generous? So, there's two people who should probably be deported, but hang tight because there's more to come. You ready for the next one? This is a London takeaway that's gone viral overnight after advertising its services using footage of Iranian ballistic missiles striking civilians in Israel. That was the Lebanese grill in Harlesden, North London. The food looks all right, but I'm not quite sure about the missiles. Then we had this situation outside the Iranian embassy in London yesterday. So 2 people were allegedly attacked for protesting against the Iranian regime. 7 have since been arrested for GBH. All this, of course, comes off the back of the absolutely insane scenes at RAF Brize Norton on your screen now, where 2 pro-Palestine protesters managed to scoot onto the runway, yes, with scooters, and cause millions of pounds worth of damage to a Voyager aircraft and indeed the runway itself. 20 years ago, the Defence Secretary would have resigned for that blunder. Now we just throw our hands in the air and mutter some outrage before accepting Britain's surrender. Then, separately, tonight, we've had breaking news that an alleged Iranian spy has been arrested in Cyprus, accused of plotting a terror attack on a British airbase. What makes it worse is the man, who is British, believe it or not, is alleged to have links to Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guards, the very same organisation our man living in North London appears to idolise. Let's not forget we had 5 Iranians arrested last month who were accused of plotting to carry out an attack on the Israeli embassy in London. And of course, in February this year, Daniel Khalif was jailed for 14 years after escaping prison while awaiting trial for spying for Iran. The former British Army soldier had been passing sensitive information, including the names of Special Forces soldiers, to Tehran. So, let's recap, shall we? We've got a former Iranian government minister living in London who supports terrorists and issues fatwas. A former Hamas terror chief living in London. London takeaways advertising kebabs using footage of Iranian missiles on Israel. British soldiers spying for Iran. Iranian terror plots against British military bases foiled. Iranians nicked for an alleged plot to attack the Israeli embassy in London. Palestine protesters destroying aircraft at RAF bases. Oh, and breaking tonight, GBNews can reveal more than 1,000 small boat migrants have crossed the English Channel illegally in less than 48 hours. Yes, more than 1,000. 400 arrived in Dover yesterday on rubber dinghies, and there was close to 600 today. That's more than 18,000 now for the year. Very good. What's been happening to our country takes the absolute biscuit. We need to buck up our ideas fast before it's too late. Let's get the thoughts now of my panel, the former Scotland Yard detective Peter Blexley, the former Labour Special Advisor Paul Richards and the journalist and broadcaster Linda Jubilee. Welcome along, panel. Peter Blexley, I'll start with you. What the bloody hell is going on in Britain?
Should we go for a lamb bomber afterwards? Or maybe a chicken sheesh? Who knows? Anyway, right, I'll tell you what's been happening in this country. For the last 3 decades or more, the progressives have been in charge. You know, that fluffy, wokey, intolerant lot? who rule so much of the civil service, HR departments and the such like, and have infected every part of public life. They've been in charge. That's why this country has dropped the ball massively through successive governments, because intolerant progressives have ruled the roost. And that's why we've got to this pathetic situation where an RAF base can be breached by people wanting to damage aeroplanes, and so much more of what you've mentioned tonight.
Yeah.
Somebody has got to get a grip. We need a leader, we need a government that is absolutely going to get a grip on what is so wrong with our country and drag it back, kicking and screaming, and to being the once great nation that it was.
Linda, is it salvageable? Is it darkest before the dawn? Is there still a future, a bright future to be salvaged?
Well, it's funny you should use that expression, that it's the darkest hour is just before dawn, because what worries me, and this brings into sharp focus what is going on geopolitically between Iran and Israel, is that we can't expect that situation to have no repercussions as far as we are concerned here, or indeed our military bases abroad. We're now on such a precipice with that conflagration in the Middle East that the situation we're looking at now really needs addressing, because it can only get a great deal worse. We already know that 2 B-2 bombers took off late this afternoon from Missouri, heading for Guam.
B-52s,
B-52s, and then go straight to Diego Garcia to position themselves ready for the conflict. So I think this is a very, very worrying situation.
And by the way, can I just say on those B-52s heading to Diego Garcia, the current situation is such a joke because of Keir Starmer's deal, Paul Richards. The US have to inform the British that B-52s are heading to Diego Garcia. We then have to inform Mauritius that American B-52s are heading to Diego Garcia, who are, of course, linked closely to China and Iran. What a joke.
The Chinese will know full well that's happening anyway, by the way, because of their intelligence and surveillance. But on the point about where's Britain heading, I think we have to recognise we are now on a war footing, and the Prime Minister has said this. That will inform all kinds of domestic policy. I'm glad, for example, ministers have prescribed Palestine action, that they took quick action on that one this weekend, making that an illegal organisation. We have to recognise that anyone that provides succour to Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis and all the Iranian-backed groups that have their proxies in this country, as well as around the world, have to be stamped on. We need to up the level of investment in intelligence services, and we have to stop this idea that it's OK to go out and protest with all these sort of anti-Semitic imagery.
What should happen to that London takeaway who's advertising their kebabs and shishas using Iranian ballistic missile?
Do you know what it made me think of? In World War I and World War II, when anyone that was felt to be pro-German had a crowd outside closing them down. You know, this was not allowed.
I'll tell you what, they have a crowd outside, Paul. They have a crowd.
Queuing up for kebabs.
But no, they're supporting. They have a crowd outside, they're supporting them. That clip has gone viral online with tens of thousands of likes from a lot of people in Britain. There's not a crowd saying, shut down, what the hell are you... Here's the footage.
Can I just ask Peter, I mean, what do you think, Peter, of the streets today? You almost have... It was described as the Battle of the Flags. We've got so many protests going on the streets of London and a couple of other cities today. We've got pro-Palestine marches, we've got Israeli marches, we've got pro-Iranian marches. I mean, what do we do about that?
Well, shamefully, the Metropolitan Police has appeased so many of these pro-Palestinian marches when people have walked along issuing their disgusting anti-Semitic chants, carrying flags and banners that should have led immediately to their arrest. But the cowardly Metropolitan Police chose not to do so. And what happens when you appease people? You empower them.
Embolden them.
And that's what's happened. This is all a result of the progressives. The progressives run the civil service. The progressives, the pathetic progressives, run the Metropolitan Police. Who is going to get a grip as this country slides inexorably into an abyss?
Absolutely. And just going back to Bryce Norton, one of the big problems there is that the RAF regiment, whose job it is to protect our air bases, has been denuded and cut back. A lot of these bases are now defended by private security firms. And I don't know what they're doing.
Someone needs to resign for that.
Well,
someone needs to resign. John Healey needs to resign. Somebody needs to fall on their sword for that. That is an absolute joke. That is the epitome of a country on its knees. You've got two vandals, or I mean, they should be classed as terrorists. By the way, they should be shot on sight. If that was Moscow, or if that was America, if that was Area 51 in Nevada, they would be shot on sight.
This is the problem, though. The private security guards are not the RAF regiment, and they can't shoot people on sight because they are private.
The private security guards probably aren't even from this country. Let me tell you that. Look at the security guards at Asylum Hotel.
It's endemic of the progressives, whereby people who supervise or manage people are afraid to say, do this, please, and do it properly, do it now. Oh, I think I'll go to a tribunal, you're bullying me. This is a progressive nonsense that has ruled the roost for 3 decades or so, and this is coming home to roost.
Just a very quick point there. Your intro there, for the news script, said these are stunts by Palestine Action. They're not stunts, they are sabotage.
Yes.
And they are people who are...
Well, Keir Starmer called it vandalism today.
Well, I think that was the wrong word too. I think
he couldn't even name them.
I think it is sabotage, and they should be treated like that.
He called it vandalism, and he couldn't even name the group. He said he just called them vandals. You've destroyed millions of pounds worth of audio.
No, you know why he's called it vandalism? Because he doesn't want it classified as a terrorism offence. Right. They are enemies. They are enemies of the state. These people. Not so long ago, the RAF used to have its own police service with many dog handlers who would patrol bases and would prevent this kind of stuff.
They've been cut by successive governments.
In simple terms, what do you think Keir Starmer can do now to get on top of the situation?
Well, straight away, by prescribing Palestine Action, then he can send the police in to disrupt their activities, to arrest their leaders, to smash up their headquarters in London and disrupt their activities.
And someone from the RAF should be sacked as well. Just finally, before we move on, what do you make of the revelations tonight that I brought you, that there's a former Iranian senior minister, I know his name, I know where he lives, I'm not going to name him just yet, who lives in North London. He backs the call for the fatwa on Salman Rushdie. Salman Rushdie, of course, escaped with his life after being attacked some years ago. And he also praised the IRG, which the US considers a terrorist group. This guy lives in a £1 million house in North London. And separately, just to remind you, we've got a Hamas commander who ran their terrorist operations in the West Bank, living in a council house in North London, which he's since been allowed to buy under right to buy. It
was the Iranian Revolutionary Guard that were responsible for the last upsurge internally in Iran.
Yeah.
Do you remember when the young woman... Masha Asimi had her headscarf pulled back and showed her hair, and she was tortured to death in an Iranian prison cell.
Yeah.
I mean...
What should happen to these guys living in London?
Counter-terrorism police should be queuing up to slap the handcuffs on.
Yeah, well, they're not. They're just not. They're allowed to walk freely through leafy North London and carry on with their day and go shopping at Aldi.
Well, they are under surveillance, though, aren't they? I mean, the fact...
I don't know, are they?
Well, they will be, won't they? Let's face it. But the IRG should be prescribed as well, actually, by the way.
They are terrorists.
That should be next.
OK, well, there we go. Sorry to be the bearer of bad news, but, yeah, I mean, that's the current situation. I just think that the RAF situation at Brize Norton, for me, was just the tip of the iceberg, and it is something that really wound me up. How can that happen in this country? And even worse, as I said, how can nobody fall on their sword for it? We need a resignation, we need someone to be fired. But again, we just throw our hands in the air, we talk about it for a moment and mutter and say, oh, what an outrage, and then we move on to something else.
Oh, lessons will be learned.
Yeah, exactly.
Pathetic.
Right, let's move on. Let's cheer you up from the temporary demise of Britain with the Great British Giveaway. It's your chance to win £54,321. It's our biggest cash prize to date, and it's tax-free as well. Here's Hayley Sparks with all the details.
This is your chance to enjoy luxury this summer. It's our biggest cash prize to date, an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash has to be won. What would you do with that? With all of that cash, you could just chill out, treat yourself and indulge in the finer things in life, somewhere like here, Downhall Hotel and Spa. You really could win the cash giveaway of the summer. Go on, treat yourself.
For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Lovely stuff. Thank you, Hayley. Good luck to you if you enter that. Coming up next.
They won't give me a Nobel Peace Prize because they only give it to liberals.
Should Donald Trump receive the Nobel Peace Prize? He's been nominated by a country which might surprise you. This is Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you, for the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain, its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight. Now, if you were watching GB News last night, and if you weren't, why not? You'd have seen Donald Trump say he should be nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. Here's a reminder of what the president said.
Well, they should give me the Nobel Prize for Rwanda and, if you look, the Congo, or you could say Serbia, Kosovo. They won't give me a Nobel Peace Prize because they only give it to liberals.
Well, less than 24 hours after those comments, it's been confirmed Donald Trump will be put forward for the Nobel Peace Prize because Pakistan says it will nominate the US president for what it called his decisive diplomatic intervention and pivotal leadership during the recent India-Pakistan crisis. So the big question tonight is, should President Trump receive the 2026 Nobel Peace Prize? And I'm joined now by the Republican commentator Nora Lee Knotson and the Democratic strategist and former spokesperson for Barack Obama, Federico de Jesus. Federico, Barack Obama, of course, did receive the Peace Prize. Is that because he's a bleeding heart liberal?
I think that people were overwhelmed with the moment and they made a mistake, just like it would be a mistake to give Donald Trump the Nobel Peace Prize. Neither of them deserved it at the time. And I think that it's just ridiculous. And I think I could see you almost trying not to laugh about it.
Oh, well, no, if you're asking me, I think he deserves one. But did you say that it was a mistake to give Obama the Peace Prize?
It was. He hadn't done anything.
What did he get it for?
Gotten elected and opposed the war, so he didn't deserve it. Neither does Trump. Just because he got a temporary ceasefire in Kashmir that's been brewing for decades, that could reignite at any moment, doesn't mean that he deserves it either.
Can you remind me, please, very quickly, what President Obama got the prize for?
I don't even remember, but again, he didn't deserve it. He had just gotten elected, and they said that his election brought hope, and that's great, but that doesn't merit a Nobel Peace Prize. And again, mediating a temporary ceasefire doesn't merit a Nobel Peace Prize for Trump either.
OK. Yeah, I seem to remember there was a stat some years ago that President Obama had dropped more bombs than any previous president combined during his tenure at the White House.
Probably more drones, too.
Say that again, sorry? Oh, drones.
Probably a lot more drone hits than Bush. He killed a lot more terrorists than Bush did, including bin Laden. So not a lot of peace in those drone strikes.
OK. Nora Lee, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
What's your thoughts? Should President Trump be awarded a peace prize?
Well, I think it's extraordinarily strategic in these times that Pakistan is nominating him for the Peace Prize. As we know, Trump's platform was peace, and he is a man of peace. He's trying to negotiate peace between Russia and Ukraine. He's trying to bring peace to the Middle East. And unfortunately, Bibi Netanyahu has thrown Israel into a war with Iran, and he's trying to get America into this war. If Trump sticks to his guns, which is a platform of peace and what his base voted for, he should definitely, without doubt, get the Nobel Peace Prize.
So on condition, if he doesn't bomb Iran or get involved in Iran, you think he should be. And it's interesting what you say, Nora Lee, because you're a Republican commentator. You're from Texas, of course, massive red state.
Yes.
Trump's base is split, isn't it? Because, as you said, he was elected on an American first, no war ticket.
Yes.
What's the situation like with his supporters in the US? What's their take on this Iran situation?
Overwhelmingly, they do not want America in another war like we had with Iraq in 2003. There is no appetite for it. There is no upside for it. And quite frankly, it would be a distraction to the work that he has to do back home in America and setting a dangerous example for the rest of the world that potentially they should be nuclear and armed up. I don't think it's serving to deter people. So I think Trump will heed the advice of Pope Leo and use peace. And right now, I think he's using coercive diplomacy by moving military assets around to get Tehran to the table. It's unfortunate that Bibi Netanyahu preempted that before their talks were going to happen in Oman.
OK. Federico, two questions very quickly. What should Trump do on this occasion with Iran, and what would Barack Obama have done, your former boss?
Well, obviously, we're in this situation on Iran because of Trump, because he tore up Barack Obama's nuclear agreement, which he now wants to get back on and signed. A little too late for that. I do agree with my Republican colleague that he should not bomb Iran. That would be a betrayal to his platform, and it would not be strategic for the American people. And I do agree that it's being strategic. Pakistan is basically trying to get leverage with Trump with their decades-old conflict with India. So that's plainly obvious. And it's not in the United States' interest to bomb Iran, whether it's just a strategic bombing of their nuclear reactor, which may or may not work, or whether it's an all-out regime change campaign.
Do you think it works? Sorry to interrupt. Do you think they're close to a nuke?
Well, according to Trump's own intelligence director, they're not. So it depends on who you ask.
Yeah, Nora Lee, I'll get your thoughts on that in a second. Tulsi Gabbard, who's Donald Trump's director of national intelligence, she stood before the Senate in March and said Iran is no closer to nuclear capabilities than they were in 2003. Just not happening. Donald Trump tonight, or at least overnight, pretty much said she's wrong. Take a look at this clip.
But we're ready, willing and able, and we've been speaking to Iran, and we'll see what happens. The material that they've gathered already, it's a tremendous amount of material, and I think within a matter of weeks, or certainly within a matter of months, they're going to be able to have a nuclear weapon. We can't let that happen.
What intelligence do you have that Iran is building a nuclear weapon? Your intelligence community has said they have no evidence that they are at this point.
Well, then my intelligence community is wrong. Who in the intelligence community said that?
Your director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard.
She's wrong.
Oh, Nora Lee, she's wrong. I mean, what does that say to you? Is she out the door, Tulsi Gabbard?
Look, I think this is all strategic. Trump is buying time. He does not want to get involved, and the neocons are trying to throw him into this war. I think Trump is going to listen to his base. He's going to stick to his promise of no new wars. And without America, Israel can't accomplish its mission.
Yeah. OK, Federico, last word to you, please.
Sure. Again, I agree with my Republican colleague. The U.S. shouldn't get involved. Trump would be betraying his base and the American interest. Bibi Netanyahu clearly wants to stay in power. The U.S. national intelligence community has consensus that Iran is not close to a nuclear weapon. And this is just a lot of fear and warmongering that we should leave out of the discussion, frankly. OK,
you both agree, but the only thing you don't agree on is that Nora Lee thinks Donald Trump should get the Peace Prize if he doesn't bomb Iran, and you think that, like Barack Obama, he shouldn't at all. Thank you both for your company tonight. Republican commentator Nora Lee Knotson and the Democratic strategist and former spokesperson for President Barack Obama, Federico de Jesus. Thank you very much, guys. Right, coming up, I'm going to ask just what is going on at our RAF bases after a British man in Cyprus, yes, a British man, this is breaking tonight, a British man in Cyprus has been arrested on suspicion of terror-related offences and spying. And that, of course, comes a day after pro-Palestine activists did what they did at RAF Brize Norton, damaging planes and even the runway. This is Ben Leo tonight, only on GB News.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
The heatwave across parts of Spain, Portugal and France continues this weekend, with some places seeing temperatures peaking in the mid to high 30s or even 40 Celsius, so very hot indeed. Otherwise, and there are a few showery bursts here and there, but actually a lot of dry weather around, high pressure often in control. And if you do get any dry, sunny weather, well, it is going to feel very warm or hot indeed, and more sunshine to come as we go into the beginning of next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, good evening. This is your GB News weather updates provided by the Met Office. For some of us, this first half of the weekend could be ending with a bang, particularly for northern areas of England into southern Scotland. There's the potential for some severe thunderstorms to push through during the next few hours. Large hail, frequent lightning and some torrential downpours of rain are possible, so do take care. A few sharp showers and localised thunderstorms are possible elsewhere, particularly Northern Ireland into western Scotland during the second half of the night. But up in the northwest, it's going to be feeling fresher during this forthcoming night, but still holding on to quite a muggy feel across parts of the southeast as we kick off Sunday morning. There'll be a touch of cloud just clearing off the southeast first thing, but it generally is here where we'll have the brightest start to the day, to decent amount of sunshine in there already. Temperatures readily in the morning, 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. The cloud will tend to build though, and that's because we've got showers pushing their way in from the west, particularly for areas of western and northern Scotland first thing on Sunday. Again, they could be on the sharp, heavy side at times. But they'll continue to spread into other areas during the day, so Northern Ireland and northern areas of England in particular could see a downpour from time to time. There'll be some sunny spells in between all of that, and it will be quite a breezy day for the vast majority of us, though that breeze may help it make it feel a touch more comfortable compared to the hot days we have had around of late. Still the high 20s possible across the south east, 27, 28 degrees Celsius, but closer towards average now, 15 to 18 across the northwest. Into the new week then, low pressure is going to be taking control and providing a more changeable and settled theme at times. Quite tightly spaced isobars mean it will be quite breezy and blustery for many of us into this new week. The showers though will always be most frequent and heaviest up towards the north, closer towards the centre of the area of low pressure. Those towards the southern half of the UK should see a decent amount of sunshine in there on Monday, and in that sunshine it will still feel fresher though compared to the highs that we've seen around of late, around the mid-20s of Celsius. See you later. Bye-bye.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock, only on GB News, the People's Channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News. At GB News, we love to hear from you, our viewers and listeners. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo tonight, only on GB News. Some breaking news from the last couple of hours, which I think you may be interested in. An alleged Iranian spy has been arrested over a suspected terror plot targeting an RAF base in Cyprus. The man, who is British, has suspected links to Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, which, again, I'll just reiterate, the US considers a terrorist group. Of course, just yesterday as well, we witnessed shocking scenes here at home. Pro-Palestine protesters breaking into RAF Bryce Norton on electric scooters. What a joke. Vandalising 2 military jets, causing millions of pounds worth of damage. 2 days, 2 RAF bases compromised. The big question is, how secure are our military bases? Well, I'm joined now by Professor Anthony Glees, who's a national security and counter-terror expert. Good evening to you, Sir Anthony. Thank you for your company. Can you just bring our viewers up to date, please, on the situation in Cyprus? We understand from authorities that a British man has been arrested over a potential attack on the base in Cyprus, the RAF base, and potentially for Iran.
Well, that's absolutely the case. This looks like a very successful intelligence-led operation. Doubtless MI5 will have been involved because our base in Cyprus is a sovereign British base, and therefore we have great power to go after people. I'm sure the Cyprus intelligence service will have helped us as well. And it's great that this alleged terrorist has been caught before he could do harm. However, what is deeply disturbing, of course, is the fact that there was an attempted plot against RAF Akrotiri. RAF Akrotiri is the largest UK RAF base outside of the United Kingdom, and it follows what I would call an attack on the largest RAF base in the United Kingdom, RAF Bryce Norton, just a few hours ago, literally. So this is it's a very serious state of affairs, and it looks as if RAF Akrotiri in Cyprus has been better protected than RAF Bryce Norton in the UK. That's worrying. Our Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, has referred to the attack on Bryce Norton as an act of vandalism.
Yeah.
Actually, I think that's entirely the wrong word. It was a serious act of sabotage, and we don't really know who is behind it. So in the case of Cyprus, there is clearly evidence that Iran's Republican Revolutionary Guard, in other words, the Iranian regime, the Ayatollahs, were behind it. Here in the UK, we're told it's Palestine Action, but who is behind Palestine Action, that we do not know. And there must be a suspicion that the Iranians have been funding Palestine Action. They've caused £55 million worth of damage overall in the past 5 years, 356 sabotage attempts, and sabotage at a time of awful increasing international tension is simply not acceptable.
Yeah, and I can imagine spraying paint into those Voyager jet engines will probably render those engines completely null and void. I assume that's millions of pounds worth of damage there. Can I ask you, please, I don't want to speculate too much because 25 million, wow. There we go. And do you know what? They've not even been caught. They breezed in on scooters. I mean, that's a whole other conversation. Who should be sacked for that, by the way? Just very quickly before I move on. Who should be sacked for what happened? Because I argue 20 years ago, the Defence Secretary would have resigned for that.
Well, yes. I mean, I think his Defence Secretary should consider his position, but clearly the commandant of RAF Bryce Norton will feel the heat on her. I mean, she is a woman. And it's not clear that she has a strong background in security. But the truth is that Bryce Norton, as people who live near, as we do, know, is very accessible. And you think it might have razor wire perimeters and snarling dogs and servicemen with machine guns all around. No, it doesn't. There are lots of plane spotters there, for example. And it's clear from the attack on RAF Bryce Norton that those who carried it out had scoped the place before understanding they needed electric scooters and so forth. In other words, it's a soft touch. Now, we cannot afford to be a soft touch at a time of increasing international tension. We may even be pulled in. If Iran was behind the attack in in Cyprus, as we think, then that means, whether Sakir or likes it or not, we are being sucked into the conflict in Iran, the war started by Israel with Iran. So it really is, the storm clouds are gathering here.
Of course, in February, Daniel Khalif, the former British Army soldier, he was jailed for, I think it was 14 years for, escaping from prison, but also spying for Iran, passing details of UK Special Forces soldiers to Tehran. We've now got this situation tonight where a British man, we don't know if he's part of the military. I mean, I don't want to speculate too much, but I'd probably guess he's got something to do with it, spying, allegedly, for Iran. I mean, that's gravely concerning, isn't it? We've got definitely one, potentially two situations where British military personnel are being picked up for spying for Iran.
But very, very much so. And may I just remind you, Leah, that we have a situation where MI5 has told us in public that it has disrupted, since 2024, I think 20 Iran-based plots. And again, literally just a few weeks ago, two separate Iranian networks that were broken by MI5. The members of those networks have been tried and convicted. They are awaiting sentence. We've got to be careful what we say about them. But the truth is that Iran is a clear and present danger to us in this country, not because it could fire missiles at us. It hasn't got any. They could fire a missile at RAF Akrotiri, but they could not hit the United Kingdom. On the other hand, they can sabotage our vital security assets here in the United Kingdom with agents. And the idea that every evil agent is, a Russian here, that will be quite wrong. Iran is a very serious threat, and our government has got to take it seriously. It's not vandalism. What Palestine Action has done is not vandalism, it's sabotage. And in wartime, you would have been shot for it.
Yeah, I think the government is going to designate Palestine Action as a terrorist group. And by the way, you mentioned some of the Iranian plots foiled in the last couple of months. One was reported to be on the Israeli embassy in Kensington. I've heard some intelligence about that job that would shock many people. I can't tell you what it is, but it made my jaw drop. I'll leave it there. Professor Sir Anthony Glees, thank you very much, national security and counter-terror expert. Right, coming up next, I'm going to talk about a frightening report about a migrant centre, the biggest in the UK, that's processing thousands of young men who come across the channel. And guess what? More than 1,000 have arrived since yesterday morning. The detail you're about to hear about this processing centre in the UK, as I said, it's the biggest in the UK. It processes most of the small boat migrants. The detail that's come out today about this centre and the way they operate is shocking. Stick with us on Ben Leo Tonight.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Chu, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in, and stay ahead.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Dubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our viewers and listeners. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight. Let's speak now with Rob Bates, the Research Director at the Centre for Migration Control. Because, Rob, good evening. There was a story out doing the rounds today about the Manston Processing Centre of small boat migrants. Most of the small boat migrants who come into this country, and by the way, 1,000 into the UK over the past 48 hours, revealed by GB News today. Most of the migrants go through Manston, and there was a devastating article today. I mean, maybe you can sum it up, pretty much saying that Manston is so understaffed, so under-equipped that migrants are just going through there, not having background checks, not having criminal record checks, nothing on their background or where they've come from, and just being dispersed into communities and hotels. Can you just bring our viewers up to date about what's going on there?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair summary. Effectively, Manston is where those individuals that first arrive, once they first arrive in Britain off those small boats, they're meant to be going there, undergoing background checks and having a kind of whole profile built about them. They start their asylum claims there, some of them do as well, and it's effectively where we get to know these unknown men. What this piece really reveals actually is that effectively all that happens here is we record their lies. These are individuals that are coming here in many cases with sort of pre-planned scripts as to why they're so persecuted and why their untoward arrival in our country is somehow forgivable. And what we really see effectively is individuals that have blown the whistle on how things operate there, saying, well, we know a lot of this is hoax and we know a lot of this isn't true, but there's nothing we can do about it. And then within 48 hours, a lot of these individuals are dispersed around the country. It's easy to see why we're seeing sex crimes and we're seeing asylum seekers involved in grooming gangs as well, when these are the level of checks that are taking place.
Yeah, by the way, just I can't remember the town, maybe it was Bournemouth, where a small boat migrant murdered a young British lad. He'd already done 2 murders in Serbia, so somehow he was allowed into the country, allowed to disperse himself with no background checks. My panel are going to get stuck in and ask you some questions, if you don't mind, Rob. The former Scotland Yard detective Peter Blexley, former Labour Special Advisor Paul Richards, and the journalist and broadcaster Linda Jubilee. Who wants to go first? Who's up?
Me, please.
Peter Blexley. What's your question for Rob?
Mr. Bates, you're from the Centre for Migration Control, so how do we control migration?
Illegally, we need to get back to a position where there's a deterrent. I think this piece revealed as well that a lot of these individuals are hearing about how much of a soft touch we actually are. They're hearing about it from people that are here and how much of a wonderful life we actually give these individuals: freebies, free trips to Anfield, PlayStations and so forth. So we need to put in place...
Yeah, I didn't ask about what we're giving them. I asked, how do we control migration? Practical, come on, how do we do it?
So first of all, we need to massively upscale our detention facilities. We only have about 2,000 at the moment. That needs to be increased. We need to increase the immigration enforcement capacity. That only has a budget of about 600 million, which is ridiculous. We need to get in place a third country deportation scheme. We need to stop going on that we're smashing the gangs, because that's a waste of time. We need to start coercing countries where we know we have large illegal migrant populations to start playing ball and accepting their foreign nationals back. And if they're not going to, then we need to start curtailing their visas, clipping their foreign aid, and placing tariffs on the trade that they do with this country. So there are a raft of measures. We actually did a paper on this a few months ago as well, Peter, if you want to read a bit more into it.
Okay.
But there, there's basically anything apart from what we're doing at the moment would do something to actually strengthen the our approach to this issue.
OK, Labour man Paul Richards has a question for you.
Well, you've sort of described a situation where we're massively underfunded on the staffing, on the number of centres, all of these things, but it sounds like we need a multi-million-pound injection into the process so we can get faster processing and we can actually deal with this faster. Who's going to pay for it?
Well, it's an investment, isn't it? The illegal migration population in this country is costing us £10 billion every single year. I think, we see other big projects take place where you put the money up front and eventually you actually start to see those savings. I think an asylum system that's costing us £6.4 billion every single year, the hotels that we know are costing us a lot more, 15 billion by the end of this decade. It seems like it's a situation where we're throwing money down a black hole and not getting anything in return. At least if we start removing these individuals, yes, it might cost a bit to start with, but actually, first of all, what price? Public safety, and second of all, it would, in the long run, actually produce savings as well.
All right. Linda, your question briefly, please.
So I've just got a very brief question there. When you talk about investment, I agree with you. There should be some investment in this. You've got to understand the money's got to come from somewhere. There's no magic money tree at the end of the garden, and all this investment ultimately all comes from the taxpayer. Now, is that fair?
Well, I don't think it's fair that we're spending billions on foreign aid. I don't think it's fair that we're spending billions, as I said, on the asylum system. So I think if we recognise that there is a lot of money actually that's being wasted, a lot of money that's going to these individuals these illegal migrants that doesn't need to go to these illegal migrants, then we can recognise that the money actually does exist in an ether. And if we front forward the use of that money to actually put in place measures that mean we don't have to pay it in future years, and I think that's a very, very worthwhile investment.
All right, and if they're not national security threats, they're potentially a menace. This is what happened when I went to RAF Wethersfield in Essex a few weeks ago. Look at this.
So, what have you seen with regards to the reports this week about migrants roaming the lanes and so on?
Yeah, they roam the lanes. They've got a lot of rubbish along the roads and everything. They defecate down by the lane. They're just a complete nuisance, really.
So, sorry, they defecate in public?
Well, it's just off the lane there towards the water tower.
Oh, dearie me. So, as I said, if it's not people being attacked or criminality, it's just complete antisocial behaviour and, behaviour from the third world, quite frankly. Rob, thank you very much. Rob Bates, Director at the Centre for Migration Control. Really appreciate it. Right, coming up in the next hour, I'll be bringing you the biggest and best stories from the Sunday papers. The front pages have just dropped some great stories on the front, including warnings over Angela Rayner's latest Labour laws and a £50 million asylum hotel farce. Are you surprised? I'm not. This is Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News. Now, let's get your weather.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. This is your GB News weather updates provided by the Met Office. For some of us, this first half of the weekend could be ending with a bang, particularly for northern areas of England into southern Scotland. There's the potential for some severe thunderstorms to push through during the next few hours. Large hail, frequent lightning and some torrential downpours of rain are possible, so do take care. A few sharp showers and localised thunderstorms are possible elsewhere, particularly Northern Ireland into western Scotland during the second half of the night. But up in the northwest, it's going to be feeling fresher during this forthcoming nights, but still holding on to quite a muggy feel across parts of the southeast as we kick off Sunday morning. There'll be a touch of cloud just clearing off the southeast first thing, but it generally is here where we'll have the brightest start to the day, to decent amount of sunshine in there already. Temperatures readily in the morning, 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. The cloud will tend to build though, and that's because we've got showers pushing their way in from the west, particularly for areas of western and northern Scotland first thing on Sunday. Again, they could be on the sharp, heavy side at times. But they'll continue to spread into other areas during the day, so Northern Ireland and northern areas of England in particular. could see a downpour from time to time. There'll be some sunny spells in between all of that, and it will be quite a breezy day for the vast majority of us, though that breeze may help it make it feel a touch more comfortable compared to the hot days we have had around of late. Still the high 20s possible across the south east, 27, 28 degrees Celsius, but closer towards average now, 15 to 18 across the northwest. Into the new week then, low pressure is going to be taking control and providing a more changeable and settled theme at times. Quite tightly spaced isobars mean it will be quite breezy and blustery for many of us into this new week. The showers though will always be most frequent and heaviest up towards the north, closer towards the centre of the area of low pressure. Those towards the southern half of the UK should see a decent amount of sunshine in there on Monday, and in that sunshine it will still feel fresher though compared to the highs that we've seen around of late, around the mid-20s of Celsius. See you later. Bye-bye.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
£54,321 in totally tax-free cash could make your year the best yet. How would you react if you got that winning call?
Oh my God, I'm going to cry. Oh my God. Thank you.
You weren't expecting to get that call today, were you?
No, I wasn't.
For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good evening to you. It's 10 p.m. I'm Ben Leo, and breaking tonight, more than 1,000 small boat migrants, yes, 1,000, have crossed the Channel in the past 48 hours, making the most of the hot weather in Britain. That's as the PM admits the crisis in the Channel is deteriorating, you think? Elsewhere, here comes the wrecking ball. Business chiefs are being urged tonight to fight Angela Rayner's new labour laws. Elsewhere, on the front page of the Sunday Express, the Home Office, get this, has failed to It's more than £50 million owed by firms making millions upon millions from housing over 30,000 asylum seekers in Britain. In the Sunday Telegraph, the NHS is paying to send rising numbers of British patients abroad to countries such as Poland, Lithuania and the Czech Republic for treatment after waiting lists in England hit record highs. And tonight, I'll reveal how much Palestine Action, the group behind the attack on RAF Bryce Norton on scooters no less, have cost the government and the defence industry. Can you guess what the figure is? On my panel tonight is the journalist and communications advisor Linda Jubilee, former Met Police detective Peter Blexley and the former Labour Special Advisor Paul Richards. And what do you reckon happened when a man ordered the hottest curry in Britain?
Oh my God, carry on. The first spoon has just gone in.
Welcome along. And on the front page of the Sunday Telegraph tomorrow, we'll get stuck into this in just a second. Nigel Farage on course to be Prime Minister after the next election. That's according to a bombshell new mega poll. First, let's get your news headlines with Sam Francis.
Tonight at 10, more than 1,000 migrants have crossed the English Channel illegally since Friday. 437 arrived yesterday, another almost 600 today, and 2 more boats currently in French waters heading for the UK. Border Force and lifeboats have responded to over 9 small boats spotted off the coast. It comes as the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, warns the situation is deteriorating, threatening a visa crackdown on countries refusing to take back failed asylum seekers. French police have stepped up tactics, using tear gas in some cases, but they say also standing by as migrants launch dinghies into the Channel. The Israel-Iran conflict has entered its 9th day, with strikes intensifying on both sides. Israel says it's hit dozens of military targets in southwest Iran, including a university, emergency centre and a nuclear facility. In response, Iranian drones entered Israeli airspace earlier today as the region teeters now on the edge of further escalation. Iran has warned that US involvement would be very dangerous as casualties continue to rise. We now know over 400 are dead in Iran and 25 in Israel. Well, last night, Donald Trump addressed reporters in New Jersey about the conflict.
The material that they've gathered already, it's a tremendous amount of material. And I think within a matter of weeks, or certainly within a matter of months, they're going to be able to have a nuclear weapon. We can't let that happen.
In Cyprus, a British man has been arrested today, accused of spying for Iran and plotting a terror attack near an RAF base. Local media say the suspect, linked to Iran's Revolutionary Guard, was caught with a long-lens camera and 3 phones watching the UK's key Middle East airbase. He was tracked to a flat near the city of Limassol and arrested there. Israel say the plot targeted Israeli citizens and was foiled by a joint operation. The Foreign Office here says it is in contact with authorities over what some are calling a spy in plain sight. Dame Esther Ranson is urging the House of Lords not to block new assisted dying laws in England and Wales. It's after MBs backed the bill yesterday by just 23 votes. It would allow terminally ill adults with under 6 months to live to end their lives with medical help. Opponents say it's being rushed through without enough safeguards. But Dame Esther's daughter, Rebecca Wilcox, told us the process has been careful and considered.
It is a gold star of assisted dying laws. In fact, in the case of it having so many safeguards within it, it's actually incredibly difficult to access it. And it brings in criminal prosecutions of up to life imprisonment for anybody that has been found guilty of coercion. That doesn't exist now. It's a brilliantly safe law that has been talked about for so long. It has not been rushed through. There's no such thing as a perfect law. We all know that. But this is pretty close.
And just before I hand you back to Ben, a breaking line out of Crete this evening that an emergency health alert has been issued on the island after a British tourist has contracted Legionnaire's disease while on holiday there. 57-year-old Donna Jobling from West Hull is currently in intensive care after falling seriously ill during an all-inclusive trip with EasyJet Holidays. We understand that she's developed acute respiratory failure and pneumonia just days into her stay there and remains in a critical condition. EasyJet Holidays say they have now moved other guests out of that hotel and contacted other returnees who have arrived back home after their stay there, warning other hotels to check their water systems for Legionella bacteria. The disease typically spreads through contaminated water droplets in places like air conditioning units, spas or hot tubs. So that news just in, that Crete has declared an emergency health alert after a British tourist has contacted Legionnaire's disease there. Those are the latest headlines for now. I'll be back with you in an hour. Now, though, it's over to Ben.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight. Let's look at the first of tomorrow's newspaper front pages, starting with the Telegraph, the Sunday Telegraph, which is bottom of my pile. RAF base targeted in Iran by spy plot. We've talked about that in great detail in the first hour. Interesting story here, which we'll discuss in a second. The NHS is sending patients abroad for treatment. So apparently patients are going to the likes of Poland, Lithuania and the Czech Republic for treatment in a bid to get the waiting list down. The Independent, at last, hope for end to cruel experiment of indefinite jail terms. Prisoners who have been kept in jail for up to 20 years for offences such as stealing a mobile phone could get a release date under landmark new proposals. This is public protection jail terms, IPPs. And a nice picture there from Margate Beach, where I think Doogie Beattie was out and about today enjoying the sunshine. The Sun, exclusive. TV Fern acid fiend gets steroid jab in jail. So TV star Fern McCann's acid attacker, X, is seen getting a suspected steroid injection in his cell. I've always said our prisons are much like Butlins or Pontins. And the Express, another good story here, which we'll discuss. £50 million asylum hotel fast. The Home Office has failed to collect more than £50 million owed by firms making massive profits from housing over 32,000 asylum seekers. Branded a farce by one MP, it could take until next April for the money to be paid. And the Mail on Sunday, Tories tell business chiefs, fight Labour union laws or sleepwalk into disaster. Red Rainer's Workers' Bill is a wrecking ball for the economy, on the front page of the Mail. And also, just on the right-hand side there, the situation at the BBC show BBC Breakfast seems to be spiralling. Will Nagamunchetti jump ship to Sky amid BBC Breakfast bullying row? Welcome back to the panel. Linda Jubilee, Paul Richards and Peter Blakeslee. What tickled you there, Paul?
No, just the rows between journalists having a bit of a bust-up there.
Yeah.
So no one really knows how much longer Sky will retain its broadcast licence for.
Ooh, I know.
There's many rumours about the fact that it runs out in 2027 or 2028, roughly. Why would she jump?
I know. GB News
ship
is beating them on the viewing figures too. So,
well, yeah. I mean, I guess when GB News, thumps its rivals in the ratings, that's what happens. But yeah, we stay humble. We stay humble. Right. The Sunday Telegraph. NHS is sending patients abroad for treatment. So to the likes of Poland, Lithuania, the Czech Republic. Paul Richards, I want some clarity on the first paragraph of this story because it reads. And it's small print, so bear with me. The NHS is paying to send rising numbers of British patients abroad for treatment after waiting lists in England hit record highs. I thought waiting lists were coming down.
They are, so they did hit record highs, and what Wes Streeting said was nobody should be waiting in pain. He inherited a situation where the targets had been thrown up in the air. When I was at the special advisor at the Department of Health, you would be seen within weeks. Now it's months or years. And the idea here is that on NHS terms, true to the values of the NHS, free at the point of use and all that, we can use other people's health services and get people treated quicker. Things like cataracts, things like knee operations,
but it's not free for the person going.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
NHS
they have to fund their own travel, their own accommodation.
But they're getting NHS treatment, and that's the key thing.
How many ordinary people do you think can pay the airfares?
But if people are getting off the list, it helps other people get ahead of the list.
Yeah, it's sleight of hand. Whatever way you want to package it up.
It's just sleight of hand, isn't it? So you pay for your flight, you go to Poland, you have your hip done over there, and we will claim that waiting lists are coming down.
Well, they are coming down. People are getting the treatment. The end result is that people are not waiting in pain. They are getting their cataracts fixed.
People that can afford
whatever it might be.
their airfares and their accommodation.
But there's something from the front page of the Telegraph, Ben, which I really need to highlight, if I may.
Yes.
Going back to the story about the RAF base and this alleged spy, trusted local media are saying that this British man apparently originates from Azerbaijan.
No, there's two of them. So there's an Azerbaijani guy, and then the breaking line tonight was that there's a separately, I think there's a British guy who's also been pinched. So there's two of them. But just going back to this NHS one, the number of people having such procedures overseas has jumped by 42% in just 2 years. In actual fact, if I was on an NHS waiting list, I needed a hip replacement or something, if I had to pay an airfare to the likes of, I don't know, Poland, which you could probably get for 30, 40 quid if you get a good deal.
And the accommodation.
I wouldn't mind having the option presented to me
or
to say...
2 years of pain. You know, that's
the accommodation.
And don't forget, people go there to get the turkey teeth and the hair implants and God knows what, don't they?
So take time off
work. What's the difference?
It's not that easy, actually.
Well, under the Tories, they just had to wait in pain. At least this is getting the job done.
No, I think successive governments of both parties have failed to grip this situation.
Well, when Labour left office, the satisfaction in it was the highest it's ever been, and the waiting lists were at the lowest ever.
I don't think satisfaction is a reliable metric. The fact of the matter is now we are going to foreign countries and we're using their state-sponsored health service to support our NHS.
What matters is what works, and if it gets people off the list,
No.
The NHS has spent 4.3 million over the last 3 years sending people abroad. Peter Blexley, what's your dear mum's name? I always forget. Pauline. I'm starting to really love her.
Thank you.
What would you think if your dear mum needed an operation? It was a waiting list of, say, 3 years. The NHS said, you've got to wait 3 years, sorry, Pauline. Or you can go to Lithuania, pay your own flights, pay your own hotel, and we'll treat you there. Would you be open to that?
Well, Mum's 96 now, and just over 10 years ago, she had both knees done in successive years. She did have to wait a while. The pain was excruciating, but eventually she got them done, and she was fastidious about her rehab, which is why at 96 she still totters around on her relatively new knees. At that age of 86, I would not have wanted to have subjected her to going abroad for a flight.
It's no joke flying at that age.
No, because she would have to have gone in a wheelchair. It would have been very inconsiderate for other travellers. It would have inconvenienced many, many people, and I don't think my mum would have liked it.
Can I ask a question? Was it through the independent sector treatment on the NHS to get those knee operations?
No, they were both done in NHS establishments.
But not in the private sector paid for by the NHS?
No, in NHS.
See, one of the ways to get those lists down so people like your mum are not waiting is for us to buy those services from the independent sector.
Yeah.
I think it's something...
Well, I can understand that.
It shouldn't be an ideological barrier to that sort of project.
And as long as it comes in at a reasonable cost and the government's not being ripped off.
If we want to keep going on and on about having the NHS, which has become something of a sacred cow to all politicians of all different parties, but we want to make it into this great thing.
As a cult.
We then, as a culture, we then cannot rely on the state medical services of other countries, because it just makes a mockery. This really is just putting a sticking plaster
can they? They've got to get on with it.
Fracture.
Yeah, you could also stop letting millions of people into the country when nobody wants them or even voted for them to be here.
A lot of them actually work for the NHS, though, let's not forget. Without immigrants, the NHS would fall over.
That is such a...
A third of the staff of the NHS come from overseas.
That is such...
Yeah, not in small boats, though. Rocking up at Dover.
Filipino nurses, Bangladeshi doctors, we love them.
Yeah, they don't rock up at Dover on an inflatable.
It's a doom loop. It's an immigration doom loop. You import 20 million people, 10 million people over 20 years, and then you say, oh, no, we haven't got the infrastructure to care for these people. Let's import some more immigrants to take care of them. Then you've got even more immigrants that need looking after. And then you say...
marvellous.
No, and then you say, oh, my gosh, we've got even more immigrants we need looking after, but we haven't got the stuff. Let's get even more in. It's a perpetual doom loop that's sending this country down a death spiral. Right, on that note, let's move on to the Palestine Action Group. So, of course, they hit Bryce Norton yesterday, the Voyager aircraft. Breaking tonight, they are feared in total, over the course of a couple of years, Palestine Action, to have caused up to £55 million worth of damage to Britain's defence industry. So over 5 years, they've launched 356 attacks on UK sites. I can't quite believe that. Targeting firms that supply the British military. And it all escalated, of course, let's have a reminder, with their most serious breach yet, storming RAF Bryce Norton and damaging 2 Voyager aircraft and indeed the runway. Paul, the government say they are making Palestine Action a terrorist group tonight. £55 million worth of damage. I mean...
Well, I mean, you talk to people in the Unite Union or GMB Union that represent the workers in some of these defence factories, and they will tell you straight away these people have been attacking our defence industries. They've been putting British workers, you know, safety at risk for months and years. And the question mark over this group might be, you know, who funds them. I think it's a legitimate question to ask whether actually it's Iranian funding going into Palestine Action, because we know they fund Hamas, you know. And I think that it has to come to an end now. I think, you know, legitimate protest is one thing, but actually disrupting a British industry and stopping workers doing their work and now attacking the actual RAF itself.
Have union representatives been lobbying the police to take positive action, arrest these people? Are we seeing them going in the courts and being convicted?
Well, that's part of the answer, isn't it? But I think also this prescription saying that it's now illegal to be a member of Palestine Action. I mean, the danger is, of course, you'll know that they'll then morph into something else. They'll rebadge, rename, you know. But going after the individuals themselves, I think, is the way forward.
Paul, can I read you this tweet from Kemi Badenoch?
Sure.
Yesterday, which will make you laugh. And viewers at home, listen to this, because it's very interesting. Kemi Badenoch tweeted yesterday, worth noting that Keir Starmer defended an activist who broke into an RAF base to set fire to aircraft. Starmer claimed his client was legally justified because it might stop a war crime.
Yes.
If he'd won that argument in 2004, what happened at Bryce Norton would be perfectly legal.
Well, Kemi, I saw that tweet by Kemi, but the point, I think she's confusing with the fact that if you're a lawyer and you're representing somebody in court, you come up with the best possible case you can. He was a lawyer at the time, not a politician.
No, you don't. You don't come up with a case. You take instructions from your client. There's a very big difference.
But a lawyer has to, you know,
very big difference.
Based on the idea everyone
you
gets.
You take instructions from your client. You're not there to make things up.
But he wouldn't think that now as Prime Minister, would he?
Paul,
He's not doing
every
that
man and his dog, every normal person in this country is asking the question, why has Keir Starmer and indeed his friend, the Attorney General Lord Hermer, represented all of history's wrong-uns? Why? Shamima Begum, terrorists, you know, people damaging aircraft. Well, why are they always on the wrong side of things?
You know my view on Hermer. I've said it here before.
Why hasn't he gone as well? He should have been sacked.
Well, quite. But the fact is, we've prescribed this organisation. I think the Iranian Revolutionary Guard should be next to be prescribed in the UK. And anyone waving a Hamas flag or displaying anti-Semitic imagery on these demonstrations...
For the damage that this cabinet's doing to the country, I think it should be prescribed, to be perfectly honest with you.
All right, one more very quick story before we head to a quick break. Breaking tonight in the last hour or so, a British tourist is fighting for her life after catching Legionnaire's disease while on holiday in Crete. Her name is Donna Jobling, according to the Mail Online. She's from Hull. She's currently in intensive care in Crete after falling ill just days into her trip. She jetted out on a £1,500 all-inclusive holiday with her husband, and she's now fighting for her life. Sad news. Any experience with Legionnaires? I mean, it's pretty serious,
I used to cover lots of stories on that when I was on the Daily Mail, and it gets into the air conditioning. We don't know where this has come from, because I haven't read the whole story, but it gets into the air conditioning units. It gets into fluid-based stuff. It's not infectious one person to another, but it's a very, very serious disease.
A great mate of mine is a senior engineer in hotels and such like, and it is the very, very highest priority that he has of any building that he's in charge of is make sure Legionnaires doesn't get into a building, because it is catastrophic.
It says here, Legionnaires is most commonly contracted through inhaling water droplets from contaminated air conditioning systems. EasyJet Holidays, who this lady was on holiday with or through, has said, we're so sorry to hear that Miss Jobling is unwell. We're continuing to support her in any way we can and her family. As soon as we were made aware of reports of illness, we immediately took action and contacted customers who were already staying in the hotel. Anyway, it's been closed and everyone's been cleared out. Our thoughts and best wishes to her and anyone else who's been affected in Crete. It's a shame. I love Crete. Great place to go on holiday.
Beautiful.
Right, more to come after the break, including on the front page of the Sunday Telegraph tomorrow, Nigel Farage on course to be the next Prime Minister after the next election. This is according to a bombshell new poll. Paul Richards is smiling with delight at the news. We'll get that after the break. But first, let's look at the Great British Giveaway. It's £54,321. Your chance to win all that money. Cash, tax-free, of course, cash in your bank. Here's Hayley Sparks with all the details.
We're here at Down Hall in Essex to enjoy the finer things in life. And it's your chance to win £54,321 in cash. It's like having an extra £1,000 in your bank account each week for a whole year, which means that you'd be able to indulge in treats whenever you wanted to. That extra cash each week could send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing this year to enable you to sit back, relax and do nothing. Make sure you don't miss out on our biggest cash giveaway to date.
For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
All right, very good luck to you on that. Coming up next, we'll be joined by the political editor of the Huffington Post, Kevin Schofield, to dive into tomorrow's papers, including Nigel Farage on course to be next Prime Minister. Wes Streeting apparently says there's no cash for assisted dying. What a waste of time that was. And, of course, the RAF-based situation. Not just Brize Norton, but this scandal, I'd say, or brewing scandal in Cyprus tonight, where a British man has been arrested, accused of spying for Iran and plotting an attack on the British base in Cyprus. This is Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Tell me now, are you concerned about these driverless cars, Tim, that are going to be put into operation in London by as early as next year?
Well, Uber is preparing to test fully self-driving taxis on London's roads for the first time. By 2026, I have an observation there that if you look at Elon Musk over the last 5 or 6 years, kept promising that there were going to be driverless cars. The norm in America, and it hasn't happened yet. So I'd be very surprised if by 2026 that's actually on the streets of London. I'm more intrigued, though, if they are driverless robotic cars, if they're still going to give you a review. You know, you get your 5 stars at the end if you were a good passenger. Who's going to review how good you are once you're in these cars?
Would you trust it? Would you take one?
I think I would, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Really?
Would you, Claire?
I know, I'm a bit reticent.
I'm a bit nervous about it.
Yeah, accepting a driverless
I think
car.
what they do eventually is they'll take any joy out of driving that there is. You get you won't get in, you feel the smell, get the gear stick. You know, I mean, a car is a great joyous thing
I don't take any joy from
to drive.
Yeah.
I take no joy. It's awful.
What?
Such a chore.
Is that because
driving?
Are you a good driver?
No, I'm a terrible
driver. Well, that's
driver.
why.
So maybe this could be a good thing for me.
I think it's
I mean,
the
you see the other
drivers
side of
that take the joy out of it sometimes.
Oh, I just think, can you imagine a glitch in the Matrix with a driverless car?
Oh,
what on
I know.
earth
You'd have to hop in the
Well,
front
you and I
seat.
live in Chiswick,
Yeah.
and the Chiswick High Road, like lots of high roads in many towns and villages.
Well, it's the bus
across...
lanes that's a problem with
But they've
Chiswick High
closed
Road.
all those down now, and if an ambulance goes down, there is carnage trying to get through to whoever they're needing to treat.
Or in King
So
Street,
it's
if a bus
dangerous.
tries to overtake a bus or anything else, you can't do it.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News. Let's take a closer look at the big stories in the Sunday papers tomorrow. I'm joined by the political editor of the Huffington Post, Kevin Schofield. Kevin, good evening to you. Thank you for your company at this late hour. A very important hour, though. Lots of stories doing the rounds, not least. What should we start with? What about Nigel Farage, on course, apparently, to be the next Prime Minister? This is on the front page of The Telegraph, Kevin. According to a new poll, 34% for reform. This Ipsos poll, the highest poll numbers for reform to date. What's your take?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that reform they have the momentum behind them right now. This has been the trend now for several months. I think the good result that they had in the local elections at the start of May have put rocket boosters under reform as well. I think this is as much to do with the unpopularity of the Labour government and also the fact that people haven't forgiven the Conservatives for what they did when they were in power, so they're looking for alternatives. And reform are promising the earth, aren't they? They're saying, we'll cut your taxes, we'll increase spending, we won't cut benefits. You know, they're promising everything to everyone, so you can understand why right now people are giving them a serious look. The one health warning I would say, though, is, you know, we're still 4 years out probably from the next general election, and, you know, anything can happen between now and then, but there's no doubt right now that Reform are the party to beat, which is why Labour are now constantly saying they are the real opposition.
During the break, Paul Richards, the former Labour advisor, was saying, what a load of guff this poll is, Paul. Why is it a load of guff?
Well, I think I said garbage, didn't I? And the reason it's garbage is because it's a snapshot, not a prediction of the future. We've got an election in 4 years' time, and this snapshot says, yes, people are annoyed, they're looking to reform, perhaps, the system is in flux. But we have 650 constituencies, and in each one, we elect one member of parliament, and that member of parliament has to get a majority of the votes in that seat, right? The Reformer, there's no way they can go from 5 MPs to 330 MPs in one leap, one election.
Why not? Look at the state. Look at what's happening in the country, Paul. The discontent is off the scale.
I'm not saying it's not. People want
And let me just read you this paragraph here. Kevin, you'll be interested in this. In this Sunday Telegraph story, it says, Sir Keir Starmer has shown to be the least popular Prime Minister at this stage of his term since Ipsos records began almost half a century ago.
But people don't elect a Prime Minister. They elect a local MP in a constituency, and in most of the seats we're talking about, Reform may do well. They may come third, may come second, they may win a few more, but they're not going to get a majority in the House of Commons.
Meanwhile, Nigel Farage lives rent-free in Keir Starmer's head.
Well, he is the official opposition.
Does he, Kevin?
Kemi has disappeared off the battlefield.
Kevin, let me just remind you of, the poll figures. So the Tories were on 15% and Labour, I think it was 25% on this poll.
Yeah, I mean, I still think right now, I think probably the most likely result is probably, and 4 years out, as I say, massive health warning, probably Labour is the largest party in a minority government. But obviously we're a long way out. I think Paul makes a good point there. For the Reform to go from 5 MPs to a majority would be absolutely unprecedented. So they have a lot of structural problems to overcome there. One of the things as well that they've got to do is convince the public that they have a government in waiting. Like, who would be the Chancellor? Who would be the Home Secretary, the Foreign Secretary? All these questions are still to be answered. But, there's no doubt right now they're in a good place. Let's see where they are after next May. We've got local elections in England, Scottish elections, Welsh elections. If they're still, soaring away then I think Labour will be seriously concerned.
OK, you say it's unprecedented, but I would argue as well that the state of the country right now is unprecedented as well. Linda, very quick to you before we move on.
Just quickly, Kevin, I mean, I suppose the acid test in all of this is the local elections that come up in the next 4 years, because people will be looking really carefully at how those Reform MPs, and there were so many that were elected this time round, how they actually handle an incredibly difficult situation for local authorities.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You're right. I mean, I think it's 10 councils that they run now, so they will have a record to run on. You know, people will be able to hold them to account on their record. If they're not happy with them, then they can vote for someone else. If they are happy with them, then they'll keep voting for them. It's as simple as that. So, yeah, it's going to be very interesting. But there's no doubt, you know, for a party that's only got 5 MPs, it is remarkable how they're managing to make the political weather, whether it's on immigration, whether it's on the economy, all sorts of areas at the moment where Labour just seem to be reacting to what Reform are doing. And it's going to be fascinating to see how it all plays out over the next few years.
OK, Kevin, let's look at the Times, the story in the Times. Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, apparently has said there's no money for assisted dying anyway. So what was all that drama about in the Commons this week?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? You know, he's come out on a post on his Facebook page apparently today, basically once again re-emphasising that he is not in favour of the assisted dying bill. He was, you know, he made his opposition clear. He voted against it. At second reading, he voted against it again on Friday. But I think this is quite significant that he's felt compelled to come out publicly and attack it and basically say there is no money to pay for it. Now, ultimately, he's the guy that's going to have to implement it, assuming he's still Health Secretary in 4 years' time when it probably will come into being. That's a big if. But I think it's quite significant that the guy that is in charge of the health service is saying this can't be done. Now, the other senior cabinet minister who's opposed to it is Shabana Mahmood, who's the Justice Secretary, who, again, would have quite a lot of responsibility when it comes to implementing this law. So yeah, it is significant. I think we should take on board what Wes Streeting has said. It's a bit late now as far as the vote's concerned. The vote has happened. The Commons has decided. It goes to the House of Lords now. I'm sure they will try to amend it. There'll be a lot of voices in opposition to it, but I still think that ultimately they won't try to overthrow what the elected chamber has passed. So it will become law eventually. But yeah, I think what Wes Streeting said tonight is very significant indeed.
Yeah, Linda, he said on Facebook in a statement, setting up this service will take time and money that's in short supply.
So you've got a situation here where we know that assisted dying will cost money, point one. Point two, we understand that in this country, palliative care is nowhere near where it needs to be in order to facilitate the whole assisted dying scenario. Those things put together are incredibly expensive, aren't they, Kevin? Has anyone actually rationally thought all of this through?
Well, of course, that was one of the big arguments against it, wasn't it? People were saying, well, why don't we improve palliative care? You know, there's a risk that if assisted dying becomes an option, then the palliative care sector withers on the vine, effectively. There's less money goes into that and more money goes into assisted dying. And Wes Streeting here is saying it's all about priorities. You know, although we keep chucking more money at the NHS, ultimately it doesn't have infinite resources, and it has to make a priority. It has to prioritise, and if it has to prioritise assisted dying, then the money's got to be found from somewhere.
Peter?
Kevin, the fact that this lamentable government allowed the assisted dying bill to go forward as a private member's bill is surely an appalling stain on its reputation, because a matter of this importance should have been adopted by the government and subjected to the full security that that kind of act would have got.
I mean, you're right. It's remarkable that something as significant as such a huge social reform as this has been voted through, and it was in no one's manifesto. No one actually voted for it at the general election. This was a promise which Keir Starmer made to Esther Ranson while in opposition, that there would be a vote on this. I wonder whether he thought through all the repercussions at that time when he made that promise, because as someone in Number 10 said to me after the vote happened on Friday, this is now going to dominate Parliament for the next 4 years, and it's going to overshadow and make it more difficult for the government to actually implement its own plans, because they're going to be so much time is going to be taken up with debates over this. How is it going to be implemented? How is it actually going to work in practice? And people in Number 10 are very concerned that this is just going to blow everything else out of the water.
OK, very quickly, Kevin, the RAF situation, Bryce Norton, yesterday or the day before, what a complete joke that was. Nobody's been sacked yet, by the way. But this situation tonight in Cyprus, a British man arrested, accused of spying and plotting an attack on an RAF base.
Yeah, again, it's very worrying indeed. And, you can see how easily the UK, I think, could become embroiled in this whole situation. A lot of people might think, oh, it's happening in Iran. What has that got to do with us? Well, you know, if, as seems increasingly likely, Donald Trump decides to get involved, then these American flights will probably have to take off from Diego Garcia, which, as we famously know in the Chagos Islands, is a US-UK base. And this is just another example of how the UK will very easily get involved in this, and I think that should concern us all.
Yeah, and if anyone's just tuning in to Ben Leo's Tonight now and you missed the top of the show at 9 p.m, please go on YouTube and watch my introduction at the top. There is a litany of, I mean, I think they're just complete jokes, but very, very serious revelations about what's happening in this country, from the fact that we've got spies being arrested. We had Daniel Khalif, the British Army soldier, nicked and sentenced in February for spying for Iran. There's a former Iranian, very senior politician, which I'm not going to name just yet, who backs the fatwa on Salman Rushdie, who's now living in North London in a £1 million home. We've got a Hamas commander living in London as well, where he was able to buy his council house. It goes on and on and on. Go on YouTube to catch up on that. It's very it's chilling, to say the least. Kevin Schofield, thank you for your company tonight from the Huffington Post. Really appreciate it. Hopefully you'll be back in the next couple of weeks. Right, more front pages coming up in just a tick, and we'll also have this later on in the hour.
Oh my God. Carry on. The first spoon had just gone in.
What do you reckon happened to the man who took on the UK's hottest curry? Ben Leo Tonight, only on GB News.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
The heatwave across parts of Spain, Portugal and France continues this weekend, with some places seeing temperatures peaking in the mid to high 30s or even 40 Celsius, so very hot indeed. Otherwise, and there are a few showery bursts here and there, but actually a lot of dry weather around, high pressure often in control. And if you do get any dry, sunny weather, well, it is going to feel very warm or hot indeed, and more sunshine to come as we go into the beginning of next week.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Hello there, good evening. This is your GB News weather updates provided by the Met Office. For some of us, this first half of the weekend could be ending with a bang, particularly for northern areas of England into southern Scotland. There's potential for some severe thunderstorms to push through during the next few hours. Large hail, frequent lightning and some torrential downpours of rain are possible, so do take care. A few sharp showers and localised thunderstorms are possible elsewhere, particularly Northern Ireland into western Scotland during the second half of the night. But up in the northwest, it's going to be feeling fresher during this forthcoming night, but still holding on to quite a muggy feel across parts of the southeast as we kick off Sunday morning. There'll be a touch of cloud just clearing off the southeast first thing, but it generally is here where we'll have the brightest start to the day. A decent amount of sunshine in there already. Temperatures readily in the morning, 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. The cloud will tend to build though, and that's because we've got showers pushing their way in from the west, particularly for areas of western and northern Scotland first thing on Sunday. Again, they could be on the sharp, heavy side at times. But they'll continue to spread into other areas during the day. So Northern Ireland and northern areas of England in particular could see a downpour from time to time. There'll be some sunny spells in between all of that, and it will be quite a breezy day for the vast majority of us, though that breeze may help it make it feel a touch more comfortable compared to the hot days we have had around of late. Still the high 20s possible across the south east, 27, 28 degrees Celsius, but closer towards average now, 15 to 18 across the northwest. Into the new week then, low pressure is going to be taking control and providing a more changeable and settled theme at times. Quite tightly spaced isobars mean it will be quite breezy and blustery for many of us into this new week. The showers though will always be most frequent and heaviest up towards the north, closer towards the centre of the area of low pressure. Those towards the southern half of the UK should see a decent amount of sunshine in there on Monday, and in that sunshine it will still feel fresher though compared to the highs that we've seen around of late, around the mid-20s of Celsius. See you later. Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation,
Because you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes and Kerr weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight. Let's have a quick run-through of tomorrow's papers. I think they're all in, starting with The Observer. Pretty decent front page. Closing in, how do you pronounce the Supreme Leader's name? Khamenei. Once governed a country, now he commands a bunker. This is the Iranian Supreme Leader. More than 20 Iranian commanders have been killed, and Trump is sending B-2 bombers to Guam. Is he just playing games? Is he serious? We will find out, I suspect, in the next 24 hours. The Sunday Mirror. My Pal Wills brings hope to planet. Exclusive eco-campaigner Robert Irwin on William's mission as he turns 43. The Sunday Telegraph, RAF base targeted in Iran by spy plot. Farage on course to be Prime Minister after next election. And the NHS is sending patients abroad for treatment. The Independent. There's the Telegraph. Let's go to the Independent. At last, hope for end to cruel experiment of indefinite jail terms. This is public protection jail terms, IPP. Some prisoners have been kept in prison for 20 years for crimes such as shoplifting, but that could soon be reversed. The Sun on Sunday. TV Fern acid fiend gets steroid jab in jail. This is some celeb criminal who is getting anabolic steroids in prison. Of course he is. And interestingly, at the top, little smidge, which I think is a far better story. Prime Minister Keir Starmer ban kneecap from Glastonbury. So this is, of course, the Irish band kneecap. The Prime Minister getting involved, saying they should be banned from Glastonbury. We'll discuss that shortly. The Sunday Express, £50 million asylum hotel fast. The Home Office is still owed £50 million by firms making massive profits, housing 32,000 asylum seekers in Britain. It should be getting the money, hopefully, in April, if it can get its act together. The Mail on Sunday. Red Rainer's Workers' Bill is wrecking ball for the economy. So British businesses have been urged to rise up and fight Angela Rayner's crippling new labour laws. That's amid dire warnings of the devastating effects they will wreak on the economy. And the Sunday Times, Wes Streeting. The NHS has no cash for assisted dying. So we just talked about this with Kevin Schofield and the panel. Wes Streeting today went on Facebook, released a statement saying, yeah, all very well you voting for assisted dying, but actually the money's not there. So what a waste of time that was. And interesting story down here, panel. China mega embassy approved. So this is the story of the Chinese super embassy, which has been recommended for approval by the planning inspectorate, despite warnings that, of course, from British intelligence that this is a totally bad idea. It comes weeks, Linda, after we had warnings from the MOD to military personnel and staff saying, do not connect your mobile phones to your car with USBs or Bluetooth to Chinese cars because they're at risk of being hacked. But seemingly now, Angela Rayner has been, waved through this mega embassy.
I just cannot believe that with what is going on in the world at the moment, you know, we're in a really, really perilous situation at the moment. We've seen several security breaches just this week. We know the Chinese are a problem, and the planning inspectorate allows this building to go ahead in a top security area. I mean, I don't understand it at all.
Does this government surprise you, Peter?
Oh, it disappoints me every day of the week, that's for sure. But here we have a situation where our security services are saying, do not allow this building to be built. Our security services, those people who are charged with keeping us safe. And yet Angela Rayner is going to trample all over that by the looks of things and let it be constructed.
This is the planning inspectorate, which is the quango, but it's not ministers that have decided this. And I think the weight of evidence will weigh heavily on ministers' decision. I don't think they'll do it.
It's an executive agency of Rayner's department.
Yeah, but it's not her decision. It will now go to the politicians to decide, and let's hope they will listen to all the evidence we've just discussed, because I'm against this too, and I think any reasonable person looking at the evidence would say no way.
Well, Paul, it says here in the Sunday Times, the decision is expected to be formally rubber-stamped by Rayner.
Well, according to the Sunday Times, but let's see what...
Oh, they're a decent newspaper.
The final step...
It's not the Daily Star, is it?
But the point is she hasn't done it, is the point.
No, but the final step in all of this is the judicial review, which will be the next step should this be pushed forward in the pipeline.
Yeah.
That will will be very interesting to see, because if it passes that, I will be amazed and shocked.
But we need an outcry. It needs to be stopped, and people need to say no way.
No, we need leadership from the government. That's what we need. We need Angela Rayner as Deputy Prime Minister to just stand up to the planning inspector and say, no, it's not happening. Lead.
Why doesn't it seems to me, Paul, this government has just a sense of brash arrogance about them. Well, you know, they don't listen to pensioners, they don't listen to farmers, they don't listen to voters, they don't listen to the military, they don't listen to people who have concerns, the US, of course, about the Chagos silence. They don't listen to British intelligence about building a Chinese mega embassy in the centre of London. I mean, what is the problem here with the government?
I think there is a question here of process, and I think, as with it's quite a lawyerly government, I would say, and they do like their due process, and sometimes they don't intervene politically as early as we might like. However, you know, with planning of this stage, you do need to have a proper process. I would hope, though, ultimately, Angela Rayner will say, on security grounds, no to this particular application. It'll be called in to the minister. I remember this happening when I was in government. It gets called in, and at that point, you say, no way.
But it's gone a long way down the process, and what we do know is that this planned site is between two critical centres, the city and financial centres, 3 data centres and a hub of communications cables. I mean, how did it get this far?
Because the progressives, like I said right at the very top of this show, run this country, and that's the mess they've got us in. Across all of these kind of government bodies, planning, councils, the lot, the progressives have got us where we're at.
No, but what worries me here is that it says that these plans were shelved, partially shelved, and then revived after the personal lobbying of President Xi. Now, surely that shouldn't be happening.
Well, Rachel Reeves was in Beijing a few months ago, wasn't she? You know.
It's a very difficult one, though, isn't it? Because we need trade with China. Well, we do.
No. Sorry, I don't want a Chinese mega embassy in central London.
All of our homes are filled with Chinese goods. Everybody watching this, look around your living rooms now. It is chock full of things made in China. So we need trade with China, but we don't want their security services, you know, trampling all over our capital in this way.
No, because they wouldn't allow us to do the same thing.
You know.
Right, anyone here like curry?
Yeah,
yum, yum.
Love it.
Korma or vindaloo or something?
Madras, thank you.
Is that hot, a Madras?
Yeah, it's hottish.
Yeah, okay.
Just below a vindaloo.
I'm a bit of a southern fairy, me. I like kormas and pasandas, nothing too spicy.
For
anyway,
heaven's sake, that's fruit. That's
it's
dessert.
a fruit one. It's got pineapple in it, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, look what happened when one man took on the UK's hottest curry.
Oh my God! Carry on. The first spoon has just gone in. Daniel, just have the mango lassi. I swear to God, you'll be all right. It affects everyone. No more than rough above. Say now you've got 10 minutes left to recover.
Oh, yeah, rather him than me. Doesn't look like he's in a very good state of affairs there, Paul.
Yeah.
I had a lovely one from the Bombay Avenue in Eastbourne just last week, and, you know, not quite as hot as that. Mind you, if you had your way, all the chefs would be on planes back to Bangladesh, wouldn't they? Wouldn't have any curry houses.
Give it a rest, Paul.
We wouldn't have any curry houses if there had no immigration.
Give it a rest.
What's it called? Is it the Scoville scale that tests the hotness of various foods?
I was in my curry house the other day, right, speaking to the fellas, and they're second generation. Ralph came over 40-odd years ago, built the business up. It's terrific, made a great life for his family. His son now runs the gaff. And I said to him the other day, I say, what do I say to my friends who are concerned about the rise of radical Islam? They're Muslims, right? I said, what do I say to my friends from you? He then went on to describe how there are different strands of Islam, of course, some of which are moderate and want to integrate and be a part of this country.
And these guys are from Bangladesh.
And others who very, very much don't.
Yep.
And then he turned around and he said, this country has served me so well, and my dad, for the last 40 years, why would I want to change anything?
Yeah, exactly. Lots of people who came here with the proper... Same as America, by the way. They voted all the legal migrants who came there the proper way. They were absolutely fed up with these people invading their borders and cheating the system. Anyway, coming up next, my panel and I will go through the biggest fails of the week, and there are some very funny clips to get stuck into. Ben Leo tonight, only on GB News.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News. The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast. Every day from 6 a.m.
For working class families, what are the fundamentals that they are looking for? They're looking for good housing, they're looking for good schools, they're looking for good jobs that give them a fair day's wage for a fair day's graft, they're looking for a strong NHS, and they're looking for safe communities to live in. When you have all of those foundations in place, then it means that children, young people, they can flourish, they can do well alongside their parents and their grandparents. And I think if you look at what this Labour government has done, we're 10 months into a 5-year programme here, by the way, but in the first 10 months of this new Labour government, they have put major policy reforms in place across all 5 of those key foundations for working class families. And so I'm confident that we're starting to see some of it here in Basildon, where Basildon is starting to get better again. I'm confident that by the end of this Parliament, because of what the government is doing now, we will start to see some positive changes for working class families.
OK, Christo, what do you make of it?
I think that Bridget Phillipson makes a very fair point when she says that white working class families and those peoples are being left behind. But unfortunately, her actions as Education Secretary don't align with what I believe are these completely hollow words. So, for instance, we've seen white working class boys particularly, but now girls, falling behind in education for absolutely years. So why Bridget Phillipson would then bring in a policy that is seeing, by the latest figures, 13,000 private school pupils entering the state school system, why on earth she would bring in that kind of policy, whilst then having the audacity to say that she's worried about white working class pupils not doing so well, is beyond me.
GB News, the People's Channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Welcome back to Ben Leo Tonight. Time now for our big weekend fails. Let's start with Linda's.
Does she find it rather peculiar that the previous Parliament spent 746 hours discussing the death of a fox and about 98 hours discussing the death of fellow humans?
Yeah.
Linda, what's that about?
I mean, for me, this summed the whole thing up. The fact that we've had over so many hours discussing the death of foxes compared to the death of human beings, which hits at the heart of us as a civilization, is the biggest fail of the week for me.
Yeah, we had a week
by Parliament.
We're now able to kill the terminally ill. We're now able to kill babies at any term. And also, babies are now going to be tested for their DNA as well. It all seems a bit dystopian. Peter, what's yours? Let's take a quick look.
Yep.
فضای غبارآلوده استدیو
The Iranian regime, we will not surrender, we will not negotiate. Oh, hang on, they've blown us up.
Yeah.
Couldn't help but chuckle, but I think it's going to kind of be a metaphor for this conflict.
Well, yeah. Yeah, of course, that was a Iranian TV station hit by an Israeli missile. Actually, I think somebody, unfortunately, a journalist, I think they died in that attack, so thoughts with them. We don't want to see civilians.
War's always ugly.
But yeah, war is always ugly. There we go. Panel, thank you for your company tonight. Don't go anywhere, viewers at home, because it's Ben Leo Tonight, late edition, coming up between 11 and midnight. Linda, we're going to wave you goodbye. Thank you for your company. Really appreciate it. But you'll be back next week, though, on the late edition. And we've got Cressida coming in from Headliners, so good stuff, a worthy replacement. Paul Richards, you're going to stick with us. Peter Blexley, the viewers will be absolutely over the moon that you're still with us for the next hour or so. Don't go anywhere. you viewers at home. Ben Leo's Tonight, latest edition coming up, including all the latest stories from the front pages, including kneecap. On the front page of The Sun, Sir Keir Starmer, out of all the problems going on in the world at the moment, potential world wars and whatever else, Britain needing a bit of TLC, Sir Keir Starmer has decided that he wants to ban the kneecap, the Irish band, from Glastonbury. Do you agree? Back in a sec.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, good evening. This is your GB News weather updates provided by the Met Office. For some of us, this first half of the weekend could be ending with a bang, particularly for northern areas of England into southern Scotland. There's the potential for some severe thunderstorms to push through during the next few hours. Large hail, frequent lightning and some torrential downpours of rain are possible, so do take care. A few sharp showers and localised thunderstorms are possible elsewhere, particularly Northern Ireland into western Scotland during the second half of the night. But up in the northwest, it's going to be feeling fresher during this forthcoming night, but still holding on to quite a muggy feel across parts of the southeast as we kick off Sunday morning. There'll be a touch of cloud just clearing off the southeast first thing, but it generally is here where we'll have the brightest start to the day. A decent amount of sunshine in there already. Temperatures readily in the morning, 18 to 20 degrees Celsius. The cloud will tend to build though, and that's because we've got showers pushing their way in from the west, particularly for areas of western and northern Scotland first thing on Sunday. Again, they could be on the sharp, heavy side at times. But they'll continue to spread into other areas during the day. So Northern Ireland and northern areas of England in particular could see a downpour from time to time. There'll be some sunny spells in between all of that, and it will be quite a breezy day for the vast majority of us, though that breeze may help it make it feel a touch more comfortable compared to the hot days we have had around of late. Still the high 20s possible across the south east, 27, 28 degrees Celsius, but closer towards average now, 15 to 18 across the northwest. Into the new week then, low pressure is going to be taking control and providing a more changeable and settled theme at times. Quite tightly spaced isobars mean it will be quite breezy and blustery for many of us into this new week. The showers though will always be most frequent and heaviest up towards the north, closer towards the centre of the area of low pressure. Those towards the southern half of the UK should see a decent amount of sunshine in there on Monday, and in that sunshine it will still feel fresher though compared to the highs that we've seen around of late, around the mid-20s of Celsius. See you later. Bye-bye.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
We're kick-starting summer with your chance to win our biggest cash prize to date, as there's an incredible £54,321 in tax-free cash to be won. What would you spend it on? A brand new car, the holiday of a lifetime, or just sit back, relax and remove some of those day-to-day financial stresses? For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who said